if you compare like skateboarding to say like, I don't know, baseball or something, like say a pitcher, a guy that's a pitcher, like you can get good at being a pitcher, I'm sure, by like throwing the ball a million times. But in my mind, you're always just throwing a ball. But with skating, I feel it's more, you know, it's more diverse than that, and it's more, you know, you can use the terrain. It's like the baseball field doesn't change, whereas if you're skateboarding, the environment's always changing, you know what I mean? It's really an endless thing where not only is the activity endless, but the environment that you do it in is endless. So it's like infinite. It's infinite possibilities.
If you are a skateboarder, there is this mentality that will link you no matter how different you are than anyone else. Everyone knows that feeling of like landing a trick or trying a trick or getting psyched or seeing someone else do a trick and then like motivates you. Like, that's like this universal thing that everyone can get. I mean, that's why skateboarding is in every continent and people of every age do it. I laugh because at some point in time, skateboarding went from like being young kids that maybe were starting these companies. You know, you had a lot of companies that are now big now, were started by kids when they were 20 years old. At that time, you know, maybe they were pro and they just kind of started their own company, and now you've got these companies that are owned by like suit and tie guys that don't skate.
The companies get so big that it kind of waters down everything and they get away from the roots of it. Like it's its own thing, it's its own like society, you know, but when that gets totally like bastardized and it just becomes so corny and like some weird tour rolls into town with like motocross and BMX and all this other stuff, it's like so fucking weird. Like I know these guys are bleeding for me, so the company's gonna bleed for them, you know? But it's a different, it's like a different structure and a different system. Whereas the larger companies, they just gotta make the cash, you know what I mean? Because they might have big investors, they might be bought, they might have been bought by another company. You know what I mean? How many of these big companies are actually owned by other big companies? You know what I mean? Even larger companies, and it just comes down to the bottom line. And if that bottom line is not met, then, you know, they gotta make changes. In big skate companies, it's kind of like everybody's just disposable because there's gonna be another kid that comes up. Like, there's so many kids that are so good. It's just the kid that gets chosen that does the best for the longest amount of time. Anybody that's like on a company, it's like such a fine line between being so hooked up and just like disappearing. You either accept it and learn to work with it or around it, or you'll just die.